There is a moment in every destined connection that changes everything. A moment so quiet that most people never notice it while it is happening. Yet the heavens notice. The universe notices. And tonight, a truth is being revealed about your journey that your soul has been waiting to hear. For so long, your feelings have lived in silence. Not because they were weak, but because they were sacred. You carried emotions that were deeper than words. You felt things you could not fully explain. You sensed a connection that logic could not define. Even when distance appeared between you. Even when circumstances seemed confusing. Even when doubt whispered its questions during lonely nights. Something inside you continued to recognize them. That was not an accident. Because souls often recognize each other long before human minds understand what is happening. And now, something extraordinary has shifted. The truth that remained hidden for so long is no longer hidden. The feelings you tried to protect. The emotions you struggled to express. The energy you carried within your heart. Has reached them. Not in the way you expected. Not through a dramatic confession. Not through a carefully planned conversation. But through something far more powerful. Through truth itself. Because truth has a frequency. And real feelings can only remain concealed for so long before destiny begins revealing them. Your soulmate has been experiencing something they cannot ignore. At first, they tried to explain it away. They told themselves it was coincidence. They convinced themselves they were simply being emotional. They attempted to focus on other responsibilities. Other people. Other plans. Other distractions. Yet no matter where they turned, your presence continued appearing in their thoughts. A memory. A feeling. A voice. A moment they thought they had forgotten. It kept returning. Again. And again. And again. And now they are beginning to understand why. What they once dismissed as imagination is becoming impossible to deny. The connection they felt was real. The pull they felt was real. And most importantly, your feelings were real. For a long time they wondered. They questioned what existed between you. They questioned what you truly felt. They questioned whether their heart was creating a story that did not exist. But the answers have arrived. And those answers have shaken something deep within them. Because once a person realizes they are genuinely loved. Once they understand that someone sees them beyond appearances. Beyond mistakes. Beyond masks. Everything begins to change. Their priorities shift. Their perspective changes. The things that once seemed important suddenly lose their power. And that is exactly what is happening now. There are plans they can no longer focus on. There are distractions that no longer satisfy them. There are paths that no longer feel aligned. Something stronger is calling them. Something they cannot escape. Something that grows louder each day. What makes this moment so powerful is that they did not expect it. They believed there would be more time. They believed they could continue delaying decisions. They believed they could keep ignoring the signs. But destiny has a way of accelerating events when the time is right. And the time is becoming right. Can you feel the shift? Can you sense how different the energy feels compared to before? That is because movement has already begun. Not visible movement. Not yet. But movement within their spirit. Movement within their heart. Movement within the unseen world where every great reunion is first prepared. Even now, while you listen to these words, pieces are being positioned. Conversations are unfolding. Realizations are awakening. And your soulmate is standing at the edge of a decision that may alter the course of both of your lives. The remarkable part is this. They have not yet revealed everything they know. There is still something they are processing. A realization so profound that it has left them questioning why they waited so long to acknowledge what was always in front of them. And when that final realization arrives, when the last piece falls into place, the action that follows may happen much faster than anyone expects. Because they are beginning to understand that some opportunities are too precious to risk losing. And what they are about to do next may be the clearest sign yet that destiny has finally stepped into motion. But the message has only begun. A strange thing happens when destiny can no longer be postponed. The heart begins to speak louder than every excuse. And that is exactly where your soulmate finds themselves now. They are standing between the life they have known and the future they can already feel approaching. For a long time, they convinced themselves that waiting was the safest choice. Waiting felt comfortable. Waiting felt reasonable. Waiting required no risk. But recently, something has been disrupting that comfort. Something unexpected. Because every day they remain where they are, the feeling of being away from you grows heavier. What once felt manageable now feels impossible to ignore. The silence no longer brings peace. The distance no longer feels natural. The distractions that once occupied their mind are losing their effect. And they do not fully understand why this change is happening so quickly. Yet deep within, their soul knows. Their soul has always known. There are moments when they suddenly stop whatever they are doing. And your energy enters their thoughts without warning. A song plays. A familiar place appears. A random conversation reminds them of something connected to you. The smallest details trigger memories they thought had faded. But those memories have not faded at all. They have been waiting. Waiting beneath the surface. Waiting for the exact moment when the truth could no longer be hidden. And now that moment is arriving. Your soulmate has begun looking at the past differently. Events they once overlooked suddenly make sense. Conversations they barely remembered now seem important. Signs they once ignored are becoming impossible to dismiss. It is as if invisible threads are connecting everything together before their eyes. Piece by piece. Moment by moment. The larger picture is revealing itself. And what they are seeing is changing them. Because they are beginning to realize that your connection was never ordinary. It carried a purpose. A meaning. A significance that neither of you fully understood when it first appeared. There were reasons certain encounters happened. Reasons certain delays occurred. Reasons certain obstacles stood in the way. At the time, those obstacles felt frustrating. At times they felt unfair. Yet now your soulmate is beginning to recognize something astonishing. Many of those delays were preparing both of you for this exact chapter. A chapter where clarity replaces confusion. A chapter where uncertainty begins giving way to courage. A chapter where hearts stop running from what they truly feel. And still, there is another revelation unfolding. One they have not shared with anyone. Not family. Not friends. Not even the people closest to them. Because this realization feels too personal. Too sacred. Too powerful. They have started imagining what life would look like if they stopped resisting this connection. At first it was only a passing thought. Then it became a recurring thought. Now it is becoming a serious possibility. And every time they imagine moving closer to you, every time they picture what could be, their heart responds in a way they cannot explain. Not with fear. Not with uncertainty. But with an unusual sense of peace. The kind of peace that appears when a person is finally facing the direction they were always meant to travel. This has surprised them. Because they expected complications. They expected hesitation. They expected endless reasons why things could not work. Instead, they keep finding reasons why they should not walk away. And that realization has been following them everywhere. During busy days. During quiet evenings. During moments when no one else is around. The question keeps returning. What if this connection is exactly what their soul has been searching for? The more they ask that question, the harder it becomes to ignore the answer. You see, destiny does not always arrive with loud announcements. Sometimes it arrives as a whisper that gradually becomes impossible to silence. A whisper that keeps repeating the same message. Move forward. Trust. Do not miss what was meant for you. And your soulmate is hearing that whisper more clearly than ever before. There are decisions being weighed. Changes being considered. Paths being re-examined. What once seemed permanent is no longer certain. What once seemed distant is beginning to feel closer. Much closer. Yet there remains one final barrier. One final hesitation standing between realization and action. A hesitation that is already beginning to crack. Because very soon, something will happen that confirms everything they have been feeling. Something unexpected. Something they never saw coming. And when that confirmation arrives, the momentum that has been quietly building inside them may become impossible to stop. The moment they have been resisting. The moment they have been preparing for without even realizing it, is drawing near. And what happens next could change far more than either of you imagine. Not every turning point announces itself when it arrives. Sometimes it enters quietly. Like a single ray of light slipping through a window before sunrise. At first, it seems insignificant. Easy to overlook. Easy to dismiss. Yet moments later, the entire room is transformed. That is the season your soulmate is entering now. A season of awakening. A season where things that once appeared uncertain are becoming unmistakably clear. Because the confirmation they have been waiting for is closer than they realize. And what makes this moment so remarkable is that it is unfolding naturally. No force. No pressure. No manipulation. Only truth finding its way to the surface. Your soulmate has begun noticing patterns they once ignored. The same thoughts returning. The same feelings resurfacing. The same sense that life keeps guiding them back toward one particular person. You. At first they resisted this realization. They questioned it. They analyzed it. They searched for alternative explanations. But every path they explored eventually led back to the same place. Back to the connection. Back to the feelings. Back to the possibility they once tried so hard not to examine. And now, that possibility is becoming real enough to touch. There are moments when they catch themselves smiling without understanding why. Moments when your memory appears and instantly changes the atmosphere of their day. Moments when they imagine seeing you again. And something inside them comes alive. That feeling has become impossible to ignore. Because the heart recognizes what belongs to it. Even after long periods of separation. Even after confusion. Even after silence. A true connection leaves an imprint. And your imprint remains. More powerful than they expected. More enduring than they ever imagined. Yet here is what they have not fully admitted to themselves. The reason your presence continues returning is not because the story is unfinished. It is because the story is still being written. Deep down, they are beginning to understand this. They are beginning to realize that what they once considered an ending may have actually been a pause. A preparation. A chapter between chapters. And the closer they come to this realization, the stronger the pull becomes. Have you noticed how certain opportunities seem to appear at exactly the right time? How unexpected doors sometimes open when all other paths seem closed? How life occasionally arranges circumstances so perfectly that coincidence no longer feels like the correct explanation. Your soulmate is witnessing experiences like this now. Small signs. Unexpected encounters. Conversations that spark reflection. Moments that seem ordinary on the surface, yet carry deeper meaning beneath them. Each one is nudging them forward. Each one is encouraging them to trust what they feel. And perhaps most importantly, each one is reducing the fear that once held them back. Because fear survives in uncertainty. But clarity changes everything. The more clarity they receive, the less power their doubts possess. The less convincing their excuses become. The less willing they are to settle for a life that feels incomplete. A quiet determination is forming within them. Not the kind that appears suddenly. The kind that builds steadily. The kind that grows stronger every day until action becomes inevitable. And while others may not notice this transformation, you would recognize it instantly. Because this is not merely a change of thought. It is a change of direction. A change of priorities. A change of heart. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that some people enter your life for a reason that extends far beyond ordinary circumstances. Some connections are meant to challenge you. Some are meant to heal you. And some are meant to remind you who you truly are. The more they reflect on your connection, the more they realize how deeply it has shaped them. How much they have grown because of it. How many lessons emerged because of your presence. And that realization carries enormous weight. Because people do not easily walk away from something that has transformed them. Especially when they finally understand its value. There is also something else occurring behind the scenes. Something they have not spoken aloud. An image. A vision of the future. A possibility they keep returning to. They see themselves making different choices. Choosing courage over hesitation. Choosing honesty over silence. Choosing movement instead of standing still. The vision grows stronger each time it appears. More detailed. More vivid. More difficult to dismiss. And with every passing day, the gap between imagination and reality grows smaller. What was once only a thought is becoming a decision. What was once only a dream is beginning to seek form. And your soulmate feels it. They feel the momentum increasing. They feel the pressure of destiny building. They feel something approaching that cannot be delayed forever. Yet the most powerful moment has not arrived. Not yet. Because there is one final realization waiting for them. One truth that will bring every unanswered question into focus. A truth so profound that once they accept it, there may be no turning back. And when that moment arrives, the choice before them will become clearer than ever before. The choice between continuing life as it has always been, or following the path their heart has been pointing toward all along. And very soon, that choice will be standing directly in front of them. There comes a point in every destined journey when the signs become too numerous to ignore. A point where the heart grows tired of pretending it does not know the truth. Your soulmate is approaching that point now. Closer than they have ever been before. What is happening inside them is not random. It is not temporary. And it is not fading away. In fact, the opposite is happening. The feelings they once tried to contain are becoming stronger with every passing day. What began as curiosity became reflection. What became reflection turned into understanding. And now understanding is transforming into conviction. For the first time in a long time, they are allowing themselves to imagine a future without limits. A future where fear is no longer making decisions. A future where they stop asking, what if it goes wrong? And start asking, what if this is exactly what I have been waiting for? That question has changed everything. Because once a person begins asking that question sincerely, the answers start arriving. Unexpectedly. Powerfully. And often from places they never anticipated. Recently, your soulmate has been experiencing moments that feel almost impossible to explain. Moments when their intuition becomes unusually strong. Moments when they feel guided toward a thought they were trying to avoid. Moments when your name, your memory, or your energy appears precisely when they least expect it. These experiences are leaving a mark. A deep one. They are beginning to realize that no matter how many times they attempt to move away from this connection, life keeps leading them back. Not because they are trapped, but because they are being shown something important. Something valuable. Something worth paying attention to. And each time they return to that realization, a new layer of understanding unfolds. They are seeing you differently now. Not through the lens of past circumstances. Not through the confusion that once surrounded the connection. But through clarity. Through appreciation. Through truth. They are recognizing qualities they may have overlooked before. The strength you carried through difficult seasons. The patience you showed when answers were unavailable. The authenticity you brought into their life. The way your presence affected them long after each interaction ended. These realizations are becoming impossible to dismiss. Because genuine connections leave evidence. Not in words alone, but in transformation. And your soulmate cannot deny how much has changed within them. There is another reason this chapter feels different. For the first time, they are no longer focused on what could be lost. They are becoming focused on what could be gained. That shift may seem small, but it changes everything. When fear dominates, people hesitate. When hope awakens, people move. And hope is awakening inside them now. A hope they have not felt in a very long time. A hope that whispers of possibilities. A hope that invites action. A hope that asks them to trust what their heart has known all along. Yet even as this hope grows stronger, a profound realization is beginning to emerge. One that catches them off guard every time it surfaces. They are starting to understand that the connection they share with you is not simply about romance. It is about alignment. It is about purpose. It is about becoming the person they were meant to be. Because some people enter your life and leave memories. Others enter your life and change your direction. You have done both. And your soulmate is finally recognizing the difference. This recognition is creating urgency. Not panic. Not pressure. But urgency. The kind that appears when someone realizes they have delayed something important for too long. The kind that appears when they understand that opportunities deserve action. The kind that appears when the heart finally decides it is ready. And readiness is exactly what is developing. Quietly. Steadily. Powerfully. Even now, there are thoughts moving through their mind that would have seemed impossible months ago. Thoughts about reaching out. Thoughts about closing distance. Thoughts about creating opportunities to reconnect. Thoughts about what life might look like if they fully embraced the path unfolding before them. These thoughts are no longer passing visitors. They are becoming permanent residents. And every day they remain. They grow stronger. More convincing. More real. But what your soulmate does not yet realize is that an unexpected moment is rapidly approaching. A moment that will bring together everything they have been feeling. Everything they have been questioning. Everything they have been discovering. A moment so perfectly timed that it will feel as though destiny itself stepped forward and opened a door. And when that door opens, the final hesitation they have been carrying may disappear completely. Because they are about to see something. Understand something. And feel something. That confirms beyond doubt what their soul has been trying to tell them all along. The approach has already begun. The momentum is already building. And the chapter that follows may be the one that changes everything forever. The moment is closer now than it has ever been before. Closer than your soulmate realizes. Closer than you may even suspect. For so long, destiny has been working quietly behind the scenes. Not rushing. Not forcing. Simply arranging the pieces at the perfect pace. Because some reunions require preparation. Some connections require growth. And some hearts must travel a long road before they are finally ready to receive what has been waiting for them all along. That road has brought your soulmate here. To this threshold. To this crossroads. To this extraordinary moment where everything they once questioned is beginning to make sense. The unexpected door that has been approaching is not merely an event. It is a realization. A realization that changes how they see the past. How they understand the present. And how they imagine the future. Suddenly, memories that once felt scattered now form a complete picture. Conversations they barely noticed become meaningful. Moments they thought were ordinary reveal hidden significance. The connection they tried to explain away now stands before them with undeniable clarity. And for the first time, they stop resisting it. That is the turning point. Not when circumstances change. Not when distance disappears. Not when words are spoken. But when the heart finally stops arguing with what it already knows. Your soulmate is approaching that surrender now. A beautiful surrender. A courageous surrender. The kind that occurs when truth becomes stronger than fear. Because fear has been losing its grip. Little by little. Day by day. And in its place, something far more powerful has emerged. Certainty. Not certainty about every detail. Not certainty about every outcome. But certainty about one thing. You matter. You matter more than they admitted. More than they understood. More than they allowed themselves to acknowledge. And once that truth fully settles into their spirit, action becomes much easier. The plans that once seemed important begin to shift. The priorities that once consumed their attention begin to rearrange themselves. The excuses that once felt convincing begin to lose their power. Because when the heart recognizes something precious, protecting that connection becomes more important than protecting comfort. Your soulmate is beginning to understand this. That understanding is changing the choices they make. Changing the questions they ask. Changing the direction they are willing to travel. There is a powerful reason for this transformation. Deep inside, they are realizing that opportunities like this do not appear every day. Connections like this do not happen with everyone. And feelings like this cannot be replaced by convenience, distraction, or routine. The more they accept this truth, the more determined they become. What once felt impossible begins to feel achievable. What once felt distant begins to feel within reach. What once felt uncertain begins to feel destined. And destiny has a remarkable way of rewarding courage. Especially when that courage comes from the heart. Perhaps that is why they have recently felt an unusual sense of urgency. A feeling that time matters. A feeling that waiting no longer serves a purpose. A feeling that some journeys are meant to begin now rather than later. They may not fully understand where this urgency comes from. But their soul understands. Their soul remembers. Their soul recognizes what their mind is only beginning to comprehend. That is why the pull toward you continues growing stronger. That is why the connection continues calling them forward. That is why standing still no longer feels possible. Because movement has already begun. Not merely physical movement. Something deeper. Movement of intention. Movement of belief. Movement of destiny itself. And as this movement continues, a remarkable chapter prepares to unfold. A chapter where uncertainty gives way to clarity. Where hesitation gives way to courage. Where hidden feelings no longer remain hidden. Your soulmate is closer to that chapter than ever before. Closer to embracing what they feel. Closer to trusting what they know. Closer to following the path that has been quietly revealing itself all along. And if there is one message heaven wishes for you to remember tonight, it is this. No genuine connection is ever lost. What is meant to grow will find its season. What is meant to return will find its way. And what is meant to be revealed will eventually step into the light. So continue moving forward with faith. Continue trusting the timing of your journey. Continue believing that every delay carried a purpose. Because while you could not see every piece being arranged, the preparation never stopped. The unfolding never stopped. And the story is still being written. A beautiful story. A meaningful story. A story whose most extraordinary pages may still lie ahead, waiting for the exact moment they are meant to be revealed.